Hi everyone, how you doing? So in this video, what I intend to do is talk about the animation of this scorpion. I've sort of been modeling this in ZBrush for a couple of days, and I've been posting videos on the process up to now. But I thought it might make sense to talk about the strenuous process of animating it, which I thought might not sort of make sense to just post a video about the process. So I'm going to talk about a few things I've done rather than printing them on the screen as well. So what I've done before was to animate this. I put markers on the timeline below on the video there. You can see the broken lines. Those are the markers. So what I've tried to do is to sort of split the timeline into certain ranges, so I can sort of divide the animation of the legs into different time buckets. So what you see I'm doing right now is, so I realized that the end of the last bone on the legs was actually deforming the foot itself. So I had to convert that bone into a deformed main bone, which means that it deforms the leg and then create a new bone for the IK. So at this point, I'm sort of renaming them. That last bone as 0 because the one before that was a dot 1. So I'm deleting the bones on the left so I can sort of symmetrize them again. Symmetrizing means that they just get copied to the other side. And once they have the dot L there, they get to have a dot R, which means that they are representing the right side of the character of the scorpion. So now I'm symmetrizing, going to amateur and clicking symmetrize, and then the bones are duplicated onto the other side. I'll still, so at this point, need to skin the character back. But now I've deleted the markers and I'm going to add new markers. So what you can see is I'm creating a double single bucket. So in the single bucket, no animation will take place, or at least the legs will be static, they won't move. But in the double buckets, that's where the legs will be animated. So they will move from their old locations. What you eventually realize when you animate the legs at the point when they land on the ground, the character is sort of trying to stabilize itself. That's why you have a single bucket. In the double bucket, you have the character actually moving, the scorpion moving. So what I'm doing now is I'm adding the IK to the bones, and that will mean that I'll need to add the IK, set the chain length to 4 or 5, change the pole angle so that they're rotated properly, and also selecting the pole target bones as well, so that the legs can bend towards the pole target bones. And then I'm going to go through this for all 6 legs. I think it will make sense to make it on one side and then have it symmetrized onto the other side as well, but I didn't do that before I did the symmetrize. So I'm going to go through all 6 legs and do that, apply the IK. So I'm checking if the IKs are working perfectly, and it seems they're all working fine. So what you notice is that when I move the bone, it moves the entire legs, and that's what the IK means. So now I'm checking whether the floor gives better visibility while I'm doing this. I decided to leave the floor, and then I'm checking the bones to see which ones I'm going to animate next, and I'm going to use the markers I've already put in there. So I'm going to use I. When I select the bones, I just press I to insert a keyframe, and then I make sure that so for the legs that are moving, for instance, I move the 3 of the legs, 2 on one side, 1 on one side, will move forwards from 6 to 18. Now I try to use the same value, for instance, G minus 1 for the legs that are moving, but I sort of realized that at several stages, the distance of the legs were a bit different. For instance, the left leg seems to move a bit further forwards than the other legs which are in front. That's the one on the left and the one on the right. in front. So I tend to use a GY -2 for the back leg, and then GY -1 for the one below. And then what I try to do is the bone below, which is the root bone, I need to move that forward a bit, because what it does basically is to move the rest of the body of the scorpion as the legs move forward. So it's supposed to be in tandem, supposed to synchronize with how the legs are moving. And I realized that oftentimes it could move too far forwards than the other legs. Ultimately, the same thing goes for the tail. So I'm just testing out the animation across the frames. So ultimately, the same thing goes for the tail. I get to extend a new bone to create the IK. So I had to split the center bone, which was in forming the final tail, end of the tail. Also making sure that I had the IK as far as 7 bones. So I have to change the angle to make sure it aligns. And then I can use the target bone to sort of move the tail based on the IK. And that makes it easy for me to sort of animate the tail as well, in conjunction with the animation of the other legs. So sort of building a combined animation of the scorpion. So I'm just going to hide the bone and play the animation. I need to make sure animation is cyclic so that it can be repeatable. I'm now going to look at the pincers. I need to make sure that the pincers are in the right angle, right x-axis. So when I press the X and when I press the R on double X, they should rotate in the right direction. So I think I need to turn this bone in the right x-axis. This one too. So they sort of rotate around that x-axis towards the front and towards the back. The same thing goes for the other bone as well. I think this bone is already in the right rotation, so I don't need to do anything about it. And this is also in the right direction. I think the 2 bones of the pincers should be moving, not the back ones. But this one rotates properly, so I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is now animate it, add keyframes and animate both. So this animation is actually based on videos of scorpions I've watched where they sort of spread out their arms when they're moving towards the front or towards the target. Ultimately, later I'll be making more animations for a scorpion, such as attacking, receiving a hit, or moving backwards. But now I'll be hosting this on the culerdamage.tech website, where you can actually view the scorpion without any animation. As I add more animations, I'll be updating that. So I've just found out that some legs are actually in the air, so I need to move them to the ground and add keyframes to keep them on the ground. And I realized that the bone of the back leg of the left leg is sort of turning, rotating at the... I'm just testing out the animation now. Combination of every other animation I've added. Now I'll just move the lifting of the legs to differentiate so that the two legs on one side, for instance, don't lift at the same time. Sort of creating some sort of variety to make it more realistic. So what I could do now is that when I do the animation, I could slow it down. I'm just gonna hide the bones and see what it looks like. Yep, that looks alright for now. Until I sort of make more adjustments and then add a bit more animations to this. So see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers, bye.